Hi there, my name is Christina Halstead, and this is a tutorial for Toon Boom Harmony Essentials. And this time we're going to be talking about how to do kinematic outputs and the difference between a regular bone system and one that has a kinematic output. So from the last tutorial you can see that I put a bone system in this guy's tail. And I can just still move it around and all that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new bone system. I'm going to put it in this leg and show you what happens when you have the foot and the leg with a kinematic system. So I'm going to go ahead and hide this bone system. I can do that with this button right here, which is show the selected deform and hide all the others. And basically, since I don't have any other active deforms, it just disappears. So what I'm going to do is show you a different way of making a bone system. Last time I used the rigging tool. This time I'm just going to go and add it directly to the layer. In this case, I'm going to add it to the leg layer. Let's go ahead and put that foot in the right place. There we go. Yeah. Okay, we're going to go ahead and add this to the leg layer. And we're going to do that with this little plus sign right here. There's a couple things up here. You can just add a straight drawing layer with this, or you can go into the drop down that's attached to this plus sign, and we're going to look for bone, and I'll explain some of these other things. So we can't see the bone until I activate it. There we go. So here's the bone. I kind of plopped it right in the middle of our camera view, and we're going to go into the rigging so we can go ahead and put that in its place. So we're going to put the offset, which is this big cross circle right here. We're going to put it right about where the pelvis bone would be, where the femur would connect to the hip bone. And we're going to swing this around and make this our knee articulation. And the articulation will show up, of course, when we make a new bone. And I'm going to continue that at the ankle and put it at the edge of the toes. A good general rule of thumb is to have your articulation about the width of your asset. In this case, it's about where the black lines are to either side. And same can be said for the ankle. We'll go ahead and shrink this down. There we go. And then this one can stay where it is. So I'm just going to make sure by showing all the manipulators that the green active bone layer is right on top of the red setup layer. And this is useful when, let's say, if I were to go to the transform tool and move this leg around, and you can see the foot didn't follow, I'll explain that in a moment. If I move this leg around and go back to show our manipulators, I can see that this is the regular setup bone in the rest position, and they're not linked up. So if I ever wanted to get them back to the same place, and I'll show you in setup view, you can see how in setup view leg's gone back to the rest position. All I have to do is hit reset, and it'll pop everything back into place. Sometimes you have to select all the bones in the system to make sure all the resets happen at all the articulations. So I'm going to go ahead and exit setup and turn off my manipulators. So like you saw, the foot's not following this at all. And that's because the only asset in this bone system is currently the leg and its peg. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the foot and add it to the bone system. I'm just going to add it with it by taking the foot and its peg and dragging it down to bone 4. And the reason we're dragging the bone 4 is because if I click on it, I can see that that is bone 4 right there. It highlights as white. So I'll go ahead and grab that and drag it onto bone 4 and release. And now the foot moves with the leg bones. And I know that it's actually part of the deform because I can see the foot bending from the articulation. If I bent this a little bit, or actually if I just pull out the articulation and change the size of the articulation, you'll see that the foot's clearly being deformed by that articulation. So I'm going to go ahead and reset that. Now the difference between this and a kinematic is the kinematic will allow the art asset, in this case the foot, to move with the leg, but not necessarily be deformed by it. It'll follow the bone rather than be deformed by the bone. And I'll go ahead and show you how to do that. Let me just take this foot out of here, put it back with the rest of the leg. So now if we move this, foot's not attached anymore. So to make a kinematic output, we can go up. We can make sure we select the layer we want to put it on, and we go to this plus drop down, and we select kinematic output. You can go ahead and change the name. I'm going to name this, leg-foot-output. There we go. So the foot is now inside this kinematic layer, and I'm going to go ahead and collapse that. And now I'm going to drag it onto bone 4, which we already know is the foot bone. So now it's in there with the foot bone. So what you'll notice now is that, like last time, it's moving with the rest of the bone system. But unlike last time, it's not being deformed by the bone system. It's only moving with the bone I assigned it to. So in this case, bone 4. So no matter what I do to the articulation, it's not going to affect that foot. So I'll go ahead and reset that. And that's how you use a kinematic output. It's good for certain situations, like let's say, in this case, the farthest extremity, such as this foot. This hand right here could probably use the kinematic output. Another good place to put it is when you attach the head to the neck. I'll go ahead and make a real fast bone system and show you what I mean, so you can see why it's helpful. So let's see, in the body, we have our neck right here. I'm going to go ahead and build a very quick bone system for that. So put that there, put this at the base, put one up here, and one here. Let me go ahead and arrange these. This doesn't need to be that big because the only job is to tilt the head. Alright, so now that we've got this bone system set up, whoopsies, got an extra one in there. Now that we have this bone system set up, we're going to take the head, and in this case it's the head peg with all the pieces of the face inside of it. All the little bits and pieces. So we're going to go ahead and collapse that. We're going to do like last time and add a kinematic output to that head. Oops. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and collapse that. We already know what's in here, so I'll save renaming for another time. So if we go into the neck peg, we'll see all the bits and pieces. And we'll go ahead, and I think this is probably bone 7. Yep. So we'll take the kinematic output, attach it to bone 7. So now these are all together. So if I move, you can see it's not quite attached to the body, but you can see that that's all moving together. So if I do this, you can see that this articulation is affecting the neck. And the head is moving with it because the bone system, it's all a parent-child system. Now the head is not being deformed at all. You can see a little bit of deformation on the neck right here, where that joint is affecting that neck layer, but the head is still remaining unscathed, so to speak, by the bone system. Let's go ahead. And that's basically the difference between a kinematic system and a bone system without a kinematic system.